got this Jet guitar here, and I think it's had, I think these are 10 gauge strings on those, which would be these ones here. Let's have a look. Put them in there. These are the ones that I use, strings that I use. Nickelwood, D'Addario XLs. These are 10s. I think that's what's on this at the minute. I think that's what is on this at the minute. But I don't believe in fighting the guitar. Sometimes it's nice to have a bit of resistance from the strings, but I use these ones. These are 9s, and I wonder if I can put that down there and press this button here. So you can see those. Oh, look at that. Isn't that crispy? So we've got all that there. Those are the 9s. Those are the ones that I'm thinking I'm just going to put on this. So I'm going to run through what I do how I change strings, which hopefully isn't dull as watching somebody paint a wall. So I like these 3 packs. These tend to be good value for money, and I like them because I used to use Ernie balls, but the thing about strings is that you get metal fatigue, don't you? So the Ernie balls come in their own little sachets, whereas these are hermetically sealed within a bag. And when they're sealed in the bag, I always think that's going to be a lot better shelf life for the strings as well. It says VCI corrosion protection. So there's all sorts of stuff that's going to help with these strings there. And I like these as well because of the colours. They're colourful, and when they got that colour on, it helps you to get the right string on the right fret and everything like that. So let's switch back over to there so you can see that. Let me just push that a bit out of shot. That's it. So there you go. That looks pretty damn good as far as I'm concerned. In case, or let me just have a go at this. Let's see how clever I can get with this. If you're interested and wondering what this guitar is this. If you remember me saying just before, Christmas, that the guys at Jet UK sent me this, and they sent me another 2 to try out. I actually like this one. This is a maple neck, roasted maple neck, and let me just, no, that's not the one. Let me have a look. Google Chrome. It will, it's me. We don't want that. We want Google Chrome. We've got some sort of infinite thing going on there. Let me just switch. Let me just switch that back there. How do I select that? Is it whatever's in focus? I've got the feeling it's just like that. Yeah, there you go. That's what it is. That's what you can see. What's going on there? That is the guitar. This is the Jet JS 400, and this is the one that I've got here. This one here. Is that the picture? Is that a nice picture? Yeah. And this is the one and they do it in pink. I like that pink colour. It's strange, isn't it? All these odd colours that were like from the 50s and 60s. Come on, that's a handsome looking guitar, is that? You know it is. It's a handsome guitar. Nice technical skills. Yes, indeed. So yeah, that's the one. €219. It's a lot of guitar for the money. And let's look at their Canadian roasted maple. I don't know if Canadian is better or if that's a good thing or what, but you can see there modern C-shaped neck. So it's very stratty feeling. It's got a bone head nut. It's not just even though it's a cheaper end guitar, it's got a bone head nut in there, which is just nuts. And the tremolo, I think it's a Wilkinson as well. So crazy. But so like I say, they've sent me this, and what I'm doing is I've been playing it for a while. I can feel that when I bend, and let's switch shot because I can. Now Now the thing is, with these are tens, and I can feel the resistance on pull-offs is quite nice. Quite nice on hammer-ons. Yeah. And I quite like that the tension on here, but I do feel that it might benefit from a slightly lighter gauge. Yeah, so I'm going to take these 10s off and I'm going to put some 9s on. And I'm just going to chat. So if you have any questions or anything else, I've got no agenda. I might teach something, I might not. If you've got any questions, get them in the chat and we'll see what happens. There's only 5 people here, so while there is a few people, take advantage of it. Take advantage of me. Yes, so right, okay, so let's have a look at these. I'm just gonna open this here. This worktop here gets some abuse. Knife marks all across it and everything. So I've got those strings there. So you always struggle with 10s on a Strat, so you switch to 9.5s. Why did you go for the 0.5 there, Mike? Why the 0.5? But I suppose it's kind of like halfway, isn't it? It's halfway in between. I kind of get it. I suppose because I think the thing is I'm just so used to using 9s and not fighting the strings. There's that whole sort of Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of philosophy of using 12s and actually battling the guitar. Have you ever tried hybriding? When I used to do hybrid stuff, when I used to play a lot more heavy metal, I used to play like, I think Ernie Ball call them skinny top, heavy bottoms. So you've got a hybrid set, so you've got 9s on, essentially what is a set of 9s on the G, B and the E string, but on the E, A and D string you've got a set of 11s or something like that, so a little bit thicker. On the Kevin, let me just reach up here. I'm just about to do a change on the on one of my acoustics as well. Let me just switch here and I'll just show you. These are the ones I use for my acoustic. 12 gauge. These are the EJ11s from D'Addario. I use these as well. But the thing that I'm just doing at the moment with this is obviously the problem with teaching is that I generally have to stay in standard tuning, but I much prefer playing a half step lower, which is, you know, and because you reduce that tension of the string, that means you can go for a thicker gauge. So if I play it with an E flat in an E flat tuning, then if I put 10s on it feels like 9s. Yeah. And if you do that on a Les Paul to a Strat neck, the gauge, the distance, this is, what was it, 25? What was it on the old thing in there? 25.5 gauge neck. Yeah. 25.5 inch, I think, from the head nut to the 12th fret, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So that's what kind of goes on there. Might be inches. Hang on, I haven't got a tape measure. Right, I was just going to measure that just so I knew. I will do it after that. So the thing is, the tuning is going to affect which strings are going to perform better, but then you've got to balance that with how much it's going to affect the existing setup and action that you have on the neck here. So obviously the distance, the action, if you didn't know, let me just switch here. The action, if you didn't know, was the distance from you see the crown of the fret and where the string is. So you see that distance, that that little gap in between there. Yeah, when you, so that distance there, obviously the shorter that distance is from the string to being pressed down, then that's going to be a lot quicker to move from note to note. And this is why, you know, oh, hang on, what's going on here? This is why, which one's not working? Hang on, we're spinning, something's going on. It still looks like we're live. We've not done anything there. We're spinning for some reason. Well, while that's trying to decide what to do there, I'm stuck on this. I'm stuck on this one at the minute. But here we go. So if we're stuck on this for the minute, then that's fine. Right, okay. So, yeah, so like I was saying, the action, the distance there for how you do that comes in really important when you want to do something like legato. Because that's all about hammering on and pulling off. Yeah. So if that's low, then that's going to affect it. We can also affect how we get the bow in the neck as well. That's going to have an effect on this. And I just haven't really looked down the neck of this. But if I'm looking down the neck, why is my wheel spinning? My E-cam seems to... Oh, there we go. Right, so just looking down the neck here. There. So what I'm doing is I'm looking down the neck from straight down the body. Yeah, so straight down, looking straight down it to see if there is a bow. And the curve, it's a concave that we're looking for, a slight concave. And there is a slightest concave, bit of relief on that. So slightest bit of relief on that, which is good. You don't want hump. If you have hump or it's too flat, then the strings will fret out and you'll buzz a bit. So yeah, which we don't want. Right. So, right, let's do the job then, shall we? Hey, Christine. Hey, what's going on? We're just chilling. We're just chilling. We're talking about strings, and we're talking about the best setup for your guitar. And I'm just about to change some strings on this. And what I'm changing them for is, and I'm also testing this system out. Hang on, it's not wanting to do it there on the old Elgato. The wheel's spinning again. Okay, we'll have to figure this out. Maybe it's because the quality of this stream should look really, really good. So these are my set of 9s that I'm going to put on. And what I like to do is split them. They usually come coiled in groups of 2, and they usually buy the string pair. They buy the string pair. Yeah, so it's like this will be the E and the A string. There'll be the D and the G string, and there will be the B and the E string all together there like that. And so first things first, we need to do. Right, we've got to. I know it's lovely in tune and everything else like that as it is, but we've got to get rid of all this. What I tend to use is one of these little tools. This was a cheaper one I got off Amazon, and to be fair, it's got a cutter on it, and the cutter's a bit rubbish, but the winder's okay, and that's the thing. So basically. I've heard stuff about shocking the fretboard by just cutting the string. So basically, I'll lower these so you can hear it. So just doing that. Hang on, I'll put it here where I would normally do it. I'll rest it here now. Now I don't slacken them all the way off. Yeah, I just slacken them off enough so that what I can do is I can go in with my proper snips. I've got some decent snips here, and then around about the about there, yeah, because I want enough length to be able to pull this lot out here. I just cut these. There you go. So I can turn the volume off on that, and then that means it's generally a lot easier to gather these ends up. So we're going to gather these ends here. Just unwind them like that. Alright, and then tap them all together there on those windy bits. Loop. Oh, these strings are filthy. Somebody else must have been demoing with this before I got it. These are manky. So then what I do is I wind them up like that, and those will go straight in the trash. Now the other side, what we can do is turn it round. I've got a cushion on the floor here for the guitar head to rest on. So I push those through. Now I've got one of those pesky ones that doesn't want to come through. And sometimes when that happens, what I'll do is I'll get a super small, did you see that? It's a super thin Allen key. Push it through the hole to push the ball end out. Yeah, I can feel it click, and then that will come out now. And these aren't D'Addario's, these, because they're all got the same coloured ball end on them. So take those off there. So I hope you guys all had a great Christmas. Didn't get too drunk. There we go. So yeah, there's the ball ends there. When I was younger, I think I thought these looked like something. These ball ends looked like something from a bracelet. I cut them all. I remember saving a load up and cutting them out, and I put them on a leather bracelet for a girlfriend. The things you do. So then what I do is I coil those up as well, just like that. Trash. And now we have a lovely clear guitar. No strings on it now. So what do we do? Well, because this is a roasted maple neck, it does have a slight finish on it. And when it has a finish, and it's like a clear coat of some sort of lacquer or varnish, then I wouldn't put any oil on it. If it was a rosewood neck, I would generally feed the wood with some lemon oil, something like that. I don't have any fast fret with me today, but I would usually put that on. Good chance to give your guitar a clean. If you can't get into this is exactly the video. The Sire Larry Carlton. I fancy trying one of those out as well. So what I do is, just get the muck out. It's just get a brush like that. That's the easiest way to clean up in there, and a bit round there. So got all that going on there. Just a fettle. Just give it a fettle. Do you know what that is? That a word for everybody else? That's a Yorkshire word. Fettling. Give it a good fettle. So, right, that's all cleaned up, and that's ready to rock new sets of strings. So now I've got those new strings. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the thick ones on first. I usually put the thick ones on first because I find that's going to tell me if I've got the tension right. Let's see, will that turn over? Will it change? No, my wheel's still spinning. My wheel's still spinning here. But, right, on this, on the Didarios, they're colour-coded. It's on the back of every packet. Yeah, hang on. Let me just come in here, and what I can do is I can use the zoom again. So on the back of every packet, yeah, it tells you what the colour is and what the gauge is, which string it's meant to go on. So that's what I'm going to do now. Yeah, so let's bang this one in here. So I put both of these in at the same time, usually. Hang on. But for today, no, I'll tell you what, I'll just put them in one at a time. So I'll put this E string in first. So I'm going through the hole in the back. Make sure it's the right E string. Right. Sometimes they get a bit hard to push through. So what you do is if you just push down, you know, on the saddle here, if you push it towards the end of the guitar, then that usually gives you the clearance that you need. So I'll push that through and let that get seated in the back of the block on the tremolo there. I'll put this red one in. Now I'm really hoping that, hang on, let's get rid of that crackling. How do I do that? Alright, just turn the volume down on that. That'll do it for now. Right, we've got the red one in there. So that's the A string. So I've got the thick E string and the A string in there. Right. And what I like to do is just get them out of the way straight away. These two. Put that one over there. I like to line up the hole so it's going up that way. Put the string through, if I can see. Strings through. Right. This is the critical bit. Right, so that's seated in there. That's the guitar. That's the string sitting in there, and I can feel that it's not going anywhere where it's seated in the block in the tremolo there. So I just make sure there's no slack in it, and while I hold it tight here, this is the trickiest bit. I have a pretty strange way of stringing the guitar. What I do is I pull it up on the E string. I'm looking to have about that much, maybe just a little bit over, of string. So hold it there. I'm pinching there. This is my guide. I'm holding it and I go down to the tuner. And then what I do is I poke this up. So this is coming out this way. And then I wrap around clockwise on that. So this is wound underneath. I've gone underneath on that one. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the winding to capture this end as it comes out and catch it. So while that's there like that, I just give it a little twist. Push that down a bit. And this means I don't need to put too much string around this tuning head, around this machine head here. Because the more that you have around there, the more it'll slip. And that means you have tuning issues. So, right. Now, not tuning it or anything just yet. That won't do that. What's it doing? I'm not tuning it yet. So, hopefully you can still hear me and see me. Because this is pretty cool. So, we've got that one there. Just pull that out of the way. The strings are very forgiving. Where you want to pull them around, but they don't have they don't go back to their old shape. Yeah, so the thing is, once you bend a string, it's bent for good. So this is going, the A string is going in there. Just wondering, can I? Oh, I can't because it's hanging. I don't understand why it's doing that. To raise or lower the tremolo unit, is it just a matter of tightening and loosening the springs? Yeah, you've got to get a balance between the string tension and the spring tension, because that's essentially what it is. And on this guitar, you can see there's 2 pivot points. Yeah, so and this is why I like these with 2 pivot points, because that means it will float a lot better. You know, it will float a lot better. And then if it's got 6 on, those you know, like a standard sort of Strat setup, then those screws don't need to be all the way down. So, okay, so if it's like that, then that's what you're looking at. So it's about getting that balance. There's a lot of tweaking it can be involved in that, about putting the springs on. Some people prefer to have 4 springs. Some people like to have 2 springs. Depends what gauge strings I think you have on it. So, right, I'm up on the next one here. This is the A string, so it's coming in here, and I'm just measuring how much I want. I can feel here that it's seated in the tremolo again, and then I pull in this up here, so I'm up to that next machine head. I put a little bit extra on, push that down, push that out, and then wrap it around underneath. Yeah, underneath. And I use my winder just to make life a bit quicker. If it is. Right, okay. Just keeps everything, and I don't know if that actually is, you know. It's probably easier if I just use a finger. Use my fingers. So you don't always have that. Notice how I'm holding the tension of that. Hang on, can I get that? You see, I'm holding the tension there, holding the string in place with my thumb, and then opposite force with this finger here. Just like keeping that tension on that string while I'm tuning it up. Yeah, that will do the job. Now, what I can sometimes do, and I do a lot actually, is once I've got it going through the other way, I will pull that. There we go. Right. So what's happening is, I don't know if this will work, but it might do. You never know. Let me just get this zoom on here. What I want you to see is, yeah, that should be it. Can you see how this middle part of the string, it's coming out in between the 2? So there's a wound underneath, then there's where the string pokes out, and then there's a wound above. Yeah, so it's a different way of doing it. It's not the usual way of doing changing strings. So I'm not tuning or anything else like that. Another important thing, I've seen that a lot of people make this mistake, and you know what happens is you end up back at the guitar shop or back on Amazon ordering some strings. People cut the strings off now. Don't cut the strings off until the guitar is absolutely in tune, because you never know when we stretch the strings, they're gonna pull, and then they're gonna find the place. So I've got those in there. So those there. Right, I'm gonna expedite this. I'll fire through this lot, because changing a set of strings shouldn't take that long at all. You know, you can get it down to about 7 to 10 minutes. You know, it's one of those. Right, so okay, got the D string here. Let's bang that in. So putting them in pairs, it's nice and easy, not too arduous. And poking through there. Right, okay. And I've got an Amazon delivery coming, so if I have to run away downstairs, that's what's going on. That's what's going on there. Hey up, Mark. So here you can see got these other 2 strings here. I'm just going to let that G string do its thing there until I need it. Like I say, I line these up. I'll put this up this way. Just a cushion on the floor. It's not on the floor itself. You don't need a special place to do it. It is easier if you've got a workbench, like I say, but let's look. So there. So measuring it up to the next machine head. and just a little bit more. Pull it back, wrap it round underneath, and then tighten. Flatten that down so that I can get this easier over. Remember what I was saying about pulling. See, so I'm holding down the string at level there, but I'm keeping the tension with this other finger. Oh, look at that. It just switched all on its own. That tension there, like this. Well, that's useful. So I can show you that there. Right, okay. I think my winder's playing up. So, but what I'm doing is I'm keeping that tension there, so that when it drops into the slot in the head nut, oh, I'm tuning the wrong one. When it drops into the slot in the head nut, then that's over, that's under, and then over. Right, and now I just want to pitch. I just want a good sound out of it. I know that there's a bit of tension on it. And then these bits here, I just like to pull them out of the way so that they're not in my way for my next string. Right, so this is the G string. Putting my G string on. Yeah. So, got that there. Hang on, let me just. That's it. Putting my G string on here. Same deal again. So I'm measuring. So I've got rid of all the tension. There. That's the string it's going. That's the fret it's going on. But that's the one that's my gauge for how far I go. So I'm going to take that one, go back down, around. Now you think you might need to put a bit more on this one, but like I say, the less you have on, the better. All right, let's wind that around. All right, winding. I can feel the tension. I'm keeping that tension thing going on there. All right. It's not fit. Oh, that's better if I fit it in like that. All right, so, and then I just help it by putting it in the slot in the head nut. Wind that around. Okay. Sexy. So we've got that one on. That's the G string. So we've got the E string. This tuned to Norwegian death metal. No tuning. Not cutting these off. Don't cut these off yet. We've got something going on here. We've got a string T, string tree. Seen it called both. You know. But then again, how many guitarists does it take to change a light bulb? One. And another 500,000 to tell you could have done it a more efficient, better way. That's unfortunately the way the guitar world works. So, just putting this one in. That's the B string. And I'm going to put the E string at the same time. I'll do them in pairs. String pairs. Who loves string pairs? I love string pairs. Excuse me. So, okay, thin E string. Let it do its thing. Let it hang. So now I'm pulling up for the B string. Same deal, but I want to keep this fairly tight actually. The distance from that to that is probably about the right amount that I want to go around the post of this machine head. So essentially put that there. But notice I don't put it under the string T just yet. I want to get this on first. I don't want to make life hard for myself. So I put that under, goes around clockwise. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wind it on. I'm going to wind it on a bit. Get me winder. Wind it, wind it, wind it. And as I feel it getting the tension going up, and I feel that this basically the thumb is doing the job of the string T. So once that's under, and I've just put it under there like that, and I keep winding. That's better. What I'm doing here is further down the neck, I'm just pulling on that string there. So you see, I'm keeping the tension on the string so it's not floppy. That's the reason people struggle with changing strings, is because they have it floppy. Now, did you hear that? Can you see what happened? It went blop. It made a blop noise because down at the tremolo end, the string wasn't seated correctly, which is a good thing. So let me have a look at this, see if this is going to give me way too much winding. Do I need to pull it in again? I don't think I need to. I can get away with that one. So I like to have a few winds around on that. Not just 2 winds. I don't just want it so it just goes like that. Yeah. So sorry, that's the string and that's the end of it coming through like that. Sometimes you want a couple underneath, or even better if you can have them over the top to keep pressure on that. See, so where the string comes out like that, it's pushing through. Right. No particular pitch on that one. Right. Okay. Let's string this one. Now, obviously, let's have a look at this. Because we have no other machine head to gauge, we just have to use that kind of estimated distance there. So pull up there. I'm going to guess it around about there. That's how much is going to go around the post of this machine head, this tuner. So hold that, pull it down, push that up, put it under, wind it round. And because the way that I do this is all about removing stabby string ends. Have you ever stabbed yourself with a string end? You know this? Like one of these? They're like needles. And if you pick up your guitar and it's just like, ow! If you've ever done that, then you'll know that this is going to save you. Right. Okay. Locking tuners. Yeah, they are good locking tuners. Yes. But sometimes, you know, you just want a vintage instrument. You want an instrument that is, let's see if this will let me. Oh, there we go. We can change over. So we can change over that. There's so many ways to do it. Yes, there is. So now I've left it like this. Now, if you leave your strings hanging off like this, yeah, you're a maniac. If you coil them around, that's a psychopath. If you see someone do that, it always like makes me go, oh no. You know, it's one of those things. We don't want that. Right, so I've got something like here. I'm going to use my tuner. I'm going to cheat. Years ago, I used to have a metronome that had A 440 tone, the tone A. And I used to tune my A string first, and then I tuned my other strings relative to that. And I did that for years because tuners were just such a pain in the bum. Right, so I've got my tuner on, right, and I'm just aiming for the rough ballpark, yeah, of. No, well, I'll show you this, Paul, and you'll go, all right, okay. And you'll realise why I do the way I do it. That's the way I think about it. Yeah, the string end captures, and the string itself is compressing around it and locking it into place. So what I do, I've got a D sharp here. I'll go to an E. Now in Yorkshire, we have a tune. There's a Yorkshire anthem called "On Ilklimo Bar Tat," which means on the moors without a hat. Yes, but the first 2 notes of that are the tuning to a perfect fourth. Right? There is another one. It's "Here Comes the Bride." So here's what I do. Yeah, I get an E string, roughly, in tune. And then when I'm tuning, I just think on Here Comes the Bride or On Il Climo Batat. Here comes the bride. Okay, so I've got that. Here Comes the Bride. Now I get the same because it's perfect fourth. I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Yeah, so here comes the bride, here comes the bride. So on all of these you should hear, here comes the bride, here comes the bride, here comes the bride. Now on this G to B string it's kumbaya. Sometimes I'll use the old school way of tuning if I hold at the 4th fret on the G string. If I press that note, then the B string should sound the same. You can hear it's lower. Bang, bang. So yes, you can hear kumbaya. And then when we go to the B and the E string, Here Comes the Bride again. Ooh, now, cool. That was really cool. Look at that. So you see what happened? The string just went slack all of a sudden. I caught it, and now I'm going to just tighten it all the way back up. Yeah, it's gone all. It popped, and it was probably not seated right in the tremolo down at this end here. So now I've got to wind it all the way back up. And it slipped off the string T, which it sometimes does. Okay, so put that back in there, tighten it up. Come on, you can do it. All right. You can get these to fit them on a cordless drill as well, can't you? Cordless screwdriver. I see people doing that. But I'd worry about overshooting the mark on that. Right, okay. You can feel the tension's coming back in now, which is great. So this is the first thing is a rough tuning. Yeah? See, got that? Yeah. Right, okay. So now this is the critical bit. I've got it in a rough tuning. So what I do now is I put my hand over here just in case, because I have stretched strings before, pulled them and just done it like that, and I've had a string come off and it's just given me a little cut across there, and I just think, oh, if that was my eye, you know. We don't want to lose an eye. Nobody wants to lose an eye. Right, okay. So, but I can see this is nearly in standard tuning here. And when I use my tuner, all right, let me just say something about the tuner as well. Can I switch? Will it switch? I don't know if it will. Will it do it on this? Oh, yeah. Right, on this tuner. Tuners have lots of different modes. Yeah, you can see this one. Guitar mode, G for guitar. That will pick up and listen to the pitch of your strings. It's calibrated to listen to those. If you are out of that, by any means, then what will happen is you can over tighten the string and then you'll end up popping the string and breaking it. So B is for bass, V is for violin, U is for ukulele, but C is for chromatic. That means it's listening to every note, and that's my preferred setting. So we'll put it on that. Yeah, we'll put it on that one there. Right, okay. So we've got that there. Got an E on that one. Give it another rough tune. Just before I stretch the strings. Especially this pesky G string. There's the A. Right, now it will go out as you tune. I tend to like to tune up that way. What's happened now is the tension is relatively there. The string tension is relatively there, and I'll be able to see if my neck has changed any by looking down. It doesn't look any much different, to be honest. Right, so now here's the bit. Like I say, stretching the strings. I'll put my hand over the top like that, just to act as a guard. And then what I'll do is you can hear these. Hang on, let me just put a little bit of volume on that. Yeah. Right, now I'm going to stretch them. So what I do is put my hand over there, get my finger underneath the string, or my thumb, and then I just give them a good old wiggle like that. And what that does is it takes any slackness out here, and it takes any slackness out here. If the ball end isn't seated in there, then you'll pull this and you'll feel it click, and then your string will go loose again. So you just do that, give it a wiggle, give it a good wiggle, make sure it feels safe. You'll know. I could pick up a guitar, and as soon as I play it, I know whether the strings have been stretched. Yeah, you feel it. Now I'm on the A string, so I'm just going through these. This is the first stretch, not the final stretch. Going on the G string. Now you've got to be careful as you move towards the thinner strings, not to be too vicious. Just a bit slower with that. Yeah. And on the thin E string, that's the one that's going to snap. Yeah. Chances are, if it snaps, there's usually a problem somewhere with a sharp burr on a machine head or a string T, or down here in the bridge there might be something that just... That string, if it was going to go, it was going to go. Now listen to the strings. The tuning's gone again. So it takes a couple of goes to get this. So now... Now when you tune, it's important to tune up to the note. Not down to the note, tune up to the note. So we call it tuning up. So that's on an E. This is on an A, right? If I haven't got my tuner, here comes the bride. Good ear training. I'm not worried about it being too much in tune. Keep going on that one. Because I'm not done stretching. So I'm going to do the stretch again. Because all that stretching pulled all that looseness out of the tremolo and the head nut and the head there and the machining heads. So we do it again. So we make sure it's really settled. So pulled there. I'm just going to give him a good stretch here. Usually takes 2, sometimes 3 stretches like this. Stretch the strings. Right, so I'm bang on an E there, but what I want to do is I want to drop down and then tune up to the note. If I go over, I want to go below the note and then tune back up. Because if I overtune and I drop down to get it into pitch, then that's introducing slack back into the head nut, into the machine head and the bridge again. Here comes the bride. Wrong one, Ricky. That D's flat, that's why. I can tell I'm going to need another stretch. Right, another stretch is required. I hope this is not too boring, but I mean, it's just like being very, very thorough, because the amount of time you can waste, you know, at the beginning of your practice session, just tuning. If your guitar's stable in its tuning, then it's like you just tune it and it's ready to rock straight away. Does it make a difference when tuning how the guitar is positioned? I don't think so. I've laid it down on a... At the music school, we've got a special kind of repair room. We've got a whole sort of desk set up with neck rests and all that malarkey. And no, I don't think it makes much difference. I think the thing is, you know, you're going to play it in this sort of position. So if you can tune it and get it right when it's in a playable position, then that makes sense. This is out of tune again. I can hear it. I can hear it without even playing the notes. Right. Right, okay, so now it's roughly in tune. Yeah. So now I know it's in some... What I'll do is I'll play some chords. E major is usually a good one because the G string's usually a funny string to tune. Yeah. Let me just pull that over there. It's a bit annoying. Wafting around like that. So that's usually a good chord. You can hear if that G's a little bit out, it'll tell you. So just play through your cage chords. C, A, G, E, D. Another thing I like to do is I will go... I'll bend the strings, because this is essentially what this is why we stretch the strings, is because if you do any lead and you bend the strings, then you're essentially stretching the strings. So what I'll do is I'll take the minor pentatonic that's here and I'll just bend these up and just listen, see if it's cutting out. See, I've got good clearance on that. And this is a good thing to do if you're going to buy a guitar and you go to a guitar shop. What I tend to do is I would start somewhere down here, go up, each fret, bend them up, you know, and see how clear the notes are ringing on the... Yeah, and then I do it on the G string. Gives you a good gauge, a good idea of what is if the intonation's like. And you'll find that's another thing. If your strings are really old and it sounds like your intonation's out, chances are it's because the strings are old. Yeah, I've had students who've had guitar strings on for like 5 years and say the guitar won't stay in tune, and then you put a new set of strings on and it's in tune. It's nothing to do with the setup, it's just completely, the strings are absolutely foobar. Yeah, so you can really see the difference in the new gauge now with the bends you were doing now. Yeah, I could feel it with the other ones. Right, I'm a little bit sharp on that B there, which is good because it means I can tune up to that easier. If I'd bent them and the strings had gone flat, then that meant there was still some slack in the string. That's flat, so just the G string. Like I say, the G string's a pain in the bum. Give it a stretch, listen. It's dropped down a whole sort of 5 cents on that. Tune it back up. D string's gone down. Right, okay, give it a little tune. But the thing is, the difference is it's gone down about 5 cents, 3 cents. Not like a whole semitone, you know, so it's not gone down massively. So I know I'm somewhere in tune. Go there. There's still some in there. Tune it back up. There's some in that, I can hear that. So just give that a wiggle. Now you're just stretching the strings as needed. Some of them need stretching, some of them don't need stretching. Mysterious chords. Yeah. Yeah, so of guitars with a floating trim, you have to go around a few times. Yeah, so you're not just going to chuck the strings on and then it's going to miraculously work. It's you're going to spend some time with the tuners, you know, messing around, just tweaking it. And I think a good sort of half hour of playing the strings, you need to play the strings in. Very much so. I can tell this is a fairly new guitar as well. The frets, when I bend here, they feel a bit scratchy, which means they haven't been finished off. It's not had a when they manufacture a guitar, they do a setup, but it's not a playing setup. It's a retail shop setup, if you will. And the thing is, the frets kind of sound a bit scratchy. Now, what I would have done is, if this had been a new guitar that, you know, I don't know if I'm sending this one back because somebody else might need to use it for a demo. But it's not worth me doing it. What I'd do is I'd mask the frets off and then run some really fine wire wool over the frets there, just to smooth those frets off there. The crowned nearly, the ends are all right as well. They're already sort of crowned off and tapered off nicely. They're not too bad, those. And the neck has a kind of a, I call it a stropped neck, because I've got my 73 Strat, and that is just like been played. If you think about it, your hands are leather, and if you think about the old cut-throat razor, you would use a cut-throat razor to sharpen the blade of a razor. So leather, it's quite abrasive, and if you play a guitar for long enough, it will smooth the neck off. And you'll feel that way if you pick up a vintage guitar that's been played a lot. Then, you know, but I think a thing that's a nice touch that modern guitar manufacturers do is they almost do that same thing when it almost has what I call a stropped feel, you know, so. That's playing nice. Right. Now's the time. He's already rolled almost too much. Oh, well, it must be comfortable. It must feel comfortable. Hopefully it feels comfortable. Now, this is the moment of trepidation. For years, what I did was I'd get to this point here and I would cut these here with this. And then with these ends, I'd cut them as close as I could. And with these ends, it still stabbed me fingers in them. Hated it. And one of my, I think it was Ben, it might have been Ben, one of my tutors, or maybe even Sam, who's in the group. You need to check out Sam. He plays for Black Star Rider. And Wayward Sons. He's just been doing some gigs with, he's done some gigs with Chris Buck and the guys from, well, it's Cozy Powell's memorial concert. He's just played guitar and doing some Scorpions, sort of like Shankery stuff. So anyhow, I digress. Sam and Ben, we always like kind of do stuff like that. Ben, he's in the group here somewhere. I might tag him. He used to be guitar tech for Kim Wilde. Does anybody remember Kim Wilde? Kids in America. So one of those guys, it was either Sam or Ben, I'm sure of it, that showed me this, and it was just like, it's such a good idea, right? You use the fact that the string, yeah, it's this. Look at this. So if I bend that string, yeah, hang on, there, look, the kink is there. You see that? It's not gonna go back to its original shape. So that tells you something about the composition of the material of the string there. So what I do is just go like this. You don't need any clippers. You don't need any cutters. Oh, look at that. See how much easier that is there. Now, sometimes that does put a little bit of slack in there, so you might have another tune-up to do. But there's that. That's that one there. Look, see how easy it is. You don't need any cutters. All right. So this is pro tip. All right. Just wiggle it. Move it backwards and forwards until the metal fatigue gets to the string. It's always easier on the thick E string. And I just wiggle them. Yeah. Just like that. As Tommy Cooper used to say. Alright, so just going boom, boom, boom. Can take a bit. But I'd rather take a little bit of extra time wiggling that off. Let me change. Can I change? Yep. I can take a little bit of time. And now I know that if I run my finger across there, I'm not cutting myself. I'm not stabbing my fingers. Yeah, this one, you'll see it really easily on this one. So just bend it, bend it, bend it, bend it. This one comes off quite easily, usually. Bend it, bend it. All right, there we go. You get the little bit that's on the end there. That's it. Done. You see there's a little bit of the winding around the string there that's on that. I keep track of these bits that you're pulling off as well. These bits, keep track of them. Don't let them go on the carpet, otherwise you'll have your missus shouting at you, like mine does when I sometimes leave them. Yeah, bend it, bend it. Now, sometimes, if you haven't wrapped it around correctly, the whole string will come off and you'll have to replace the whole string. But you get good enough at it over time, it becomes really easy. Right, wiggle, 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 wiggle. Just a little bit. It takes a little bit. I could feel the string slipping underneath these fingers here. Yeah. Ooh, one stuck in your foot. You don't want that. Taking a while is this one. So we're just using that metal fatigue. And that's going to need a tune. So I'll give it a tune afterwards. And you can stretch, re-stretch. Come on. This G string. It's the G string. It's always the G string. Hang on, I'll come back to the G string. Get this B string off first. There. See how the B string just wants to come off? B string came off real easy. Thin E string can be a bit of a pain because it's just so thin. Yeah, Phil, you know something? What I've used before, You know how expensive guitar gear is for... The G-string has a lot to answer for. To file the grooves of the new nut. So, yeah, you can get something, a cheap tool. Yeah, StewMac gear is ridiculously expensive. So if you want some head nut files, you'll pay like, 25 quid for one file. There you go. The E string's gone. Right, back to the G string. Troublesome G string. Yeah. So you'll pay a fortune for a StewMac job, but what you can do is if you go to a welding supplies, there's like a little file set that you can get, and there's loads of different little files in for clearing the tips of MIG and TIG welders. Where the wire comes out. They're just like little things, and they're great for clearing stuff out. And I've used those for years, and those are great for just clearing out God, Bennett, this one doesn't want to shift. It's going. It's having it. I don't care. You're doing it. G string, Mr. G string. There you go. I can feel it's not far off now. Come on, you can do it. You can do it, G string. It's not happy. There. But now, look, no sharp bits. But I know my tuning's out. I know my tuning is out. Especially that G string. Save some time, let's get the tuner on it. They're so cheap. There's usually, see those little, do you hear that little click when that happened? I've no idea why they're so troublesome, really. I don't know where it's. There's some engineering reason. Someone's done a YouTube video about it somewhere, probably. Now everything's sharp here. I know I'm going to have to stretch this one, this G, because it went so slack. I pull it, and I just say to myself, if it comes off if it comes off there, it was going to come off anyhow. Now if I play it, you hear it's down to an F there on that. Might do it again. From an F sharp to a G now. Still going. Jesus. Come out down here. This G string does not like me today. Right, okay. So this is a good thing here, right? We'll use this. It's a good thing. I might need to use my other glasses so I can see a little bit better. What is going on here, G string? Now, luckily, did you hear it snap there? Did you hear that little pull? Because it wasn't. I'd stretched it already, and it was like, yeah, I'm stretched. I'm stretched. I'm stretched. See if I can get it back on. If not, I'm going to have to get another one. Another G string. Yep. I'm probably going to have to get another G string. Damn it! Those are 9s. And this is why it's sometimes just good to give your guitar to somebody and say, can you sort this out for me? Can you tune this for me? Oh no, safety goggles. It is a funny, you do need goggles. Right, so fresh pack, which means I'm eating into my reserves here. Let's have a look. Right, okay, so let's check this out. Well, this has turned into a task, hasn't it? Right. Green one. Is that going to turn over? Green one. Green ball end on the D'Adarios. So, okay, that's cool. But I always think to myself, I'd rather the string, you know, broke when I'm doing this than when I'm, you know, really getting into some practice and doing something meaningful with it, you know, or having a jam or playing a gig or whatever. You'd rather that it came off when you're putting it on like this. Find the problem now instead of later on when it's critical, because not everybody can do that string change thing like BB King. You can buy single strings, and D'Addario do them, and at the school where we have spares, and ordinarily if this was at my music school I would have just pulled one out. They do a bulk pack where you can buy like 25 sets of strings. They're all on kind of like a big reel. Right, hang on, let me make sure that's pulled in there nicely, seated in there. Right, let's put this up here. It should be quicker. Get that out of the way. Don't know if those pots are a bit noisy on this, so let's have a look. So pull it in, make sure I've got that all tight there. Offer it up, pull down, under, round. Get that on. Get on there, Mr. G string. Mr. G string. Wind it on. Over. I'm going to go over and under on this one. And then under. Just so it's nice and secure. Because the thing is, when it comes to bending, I think the G string gets bent the most, really. For your licks. Come on, you can do it. That's it. So, no big deal. Yeah, I had to break into a new pack. Strings Direct. Yes, we like Strings Direct as well. I get lots of different, you know, sometimes at the school, at the music school, what happens is we have to get stuff in for students, and they might have a particular style of string. So we have used Strings Direct for that. So let's have a listen. Banging this on. Expedite the issue. Somewhere like stretch. You have to stretch it. Yeah, spare high E and B strings. Yeah. The E string is the one that we replace the most. We get students coming in. We've got, I think we've got about about 350 students come into the school every week. So you can guarantee that every week we'll put on, you know, an E string or 3. Right, so, okay. the funny thing is that when I was playing that G string and I was stretching the string up here, it didn't pop down here, did it? It's that's odd. Just a little bit odd there. So I'll give it a little pull down there just to make sure. This used to be one of the things when I used to have a student that I stopped doing it in lessons. They'd come in and say, "I've just got this guitar. Will you restring it for me?" And a guitar that I didn't know what it was like, and it'd be like, you know, they'd have an hour lesson, and it'd be like, "Hang on, we're an hour 15 minutes in here, and we're still trying to restring this guitar. So don't do it. Don't waste your time in your guitar lesson getting your tutor to string it. Get it set up outside." Because I tell you, from a guitar teacher's perspective, it's just like you feel awful. Yeah, good strobe tuner. Strobe tuners are really good. The Polytune. Those Polytune ones are pretty fast. And it's all about the speed of the tuner. But do you know what? You can pay a fortune for a really, really good tuner. So I'm going to leave that G string one like that for a bit until I know that it's. Nice tremolo on this. I can say that the string tension feels a little bit better on that. I think that the action could go down a little bit. It's a little bit high for me. That is probably about. Ooh, what would we say? I don't know. I don't know how much we'd say on that one. I haven't got anything to kind of. Post-it note. All right, the micro. Yeah, the micro is a good one as well. So let's have a look. See if we can see how much. So let's just switch to this one here. You see, and I showed you the action at the beginning. What I tend to look for is the action at the 12th fret. Gives you it's a good indicator. Can you see the distance? Hang on, let's see if I can arrange this a little bit better. Just so we'll put that paper. Hang on. It's real nerdy stuff, is this, isn't it? So you can see. Oh, come on, Ricky, you can do it. You can see it perfectly there. Right, okay. Is that better? Is that better? No, that isn't better, Ricky. Just show inside your ear or something. Alright, okay. You see that gap? You see the distance? You see underneath the string there how much yellow there is? That's a bit too high. That, for me, should be half that. It should be about there. See? You see that distance? That action there? It should be half that. It would be better if it was half that. So that's a set. But that's going to be a proper setup. You know, that's a proper setup. And now, all that remains is really it just needs playing in. So. Yeah. See if that's stays in tune there. I do need another. I do need another arm. Maybe with this AI technology and everything else, I'll be able to. Everything's just a little flat. And I'm wondering if that's because of this tremolo arm. Let's just test that. If I play that E there, in tune. Because what you can do is, there's two posts that are sticking up here. Where those edges meet, they're like knife edges, where they meet those posts, then what it could be is you can sometimes have multiple little places where they go. And, you know, just like a little bit, that's sharp, that's still sharp. Now, I'm not going to do the full bar dive on this because it's not geared towards that sort of thing really. It's more of a subtle sort of tremolo, yeah, than, you know, a stunt guitar with a Floyd Rose. Eric Johnson would change strings between takes. But his guitars, you know, Eric Johnson can afford to get them all set up properly, and he's got a guitar tech. He won't be just doing it himself. He can change one string on the fly, I should imagine, you know. You know, so... Sounds nice with fingers. Nice job there. Right, so yeah, BB King, he used to do that. He's the guy. He was the guy, wasn't he? Let's put some crunch on this. I'm using guitar amp wise. I'm using a Yamaha THR. I forgot which model it is. THR2. But the thing is, there's a remote. It hooks up with USB, so the sounds that you're hearing are coming directly from that, and it's a wonderful bit of kit because you know, I've got this meaty thing here. It's a 60 watt Fender Supersonic. That's loud. That's loud. It's very loud. Yeah, I think it's the 30. Yeah, the THR 30 Mark II. Let me just show you. Can I do that? Yeah, can I? That one. So that's the amp. Yeah, and that's just plugged straight into the computer, which is there. I've got my Mac there, but the thing is, it's got this little interface here, which I love. And then I can change that, and I can do all that gubbins. But what happens is it works really well in Logic and in any recording software. So the sounds that you get out of it for recording are absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, it's not cheap for a tiny amp, no, but it really, yeah, it is, Mike. You know, it really is. I think. They call it the third amp because what you've got is you've got like a practice amp, a recording amp and a gigging amp. So really, it is, for me. It's like you can dial some tones in there. I'll share some. Let's see. I like to tweak them with this. So obviously this is it's just a little bit driven. But if I switch to lead, it's nice there. Some nice little things you can do with that, and like I say, it comes with the compression, and I think the compression's a really big part of it. This is high gain. Fighting the action on this. Yeah, and then there's what's set in here called Special, which is basically just got everything on it. It is the G string finally did what it was told. Switch to the humbucker there. And I've got reverb, echo, compression, and a noise gate on that. Let me just put this reverb up. Action is really high on it. action is a little bit high on that. But yeah, but that's the sound you get out of this. And I probably don't even use half of the sounds on this. If I'm playing rock, if I'm just playing rhythm, I like to play a lot of rhythm and a lot of lead, but I think it's good to have a good clean sound. But if I'm playing rhythm, no reverb at all, or echo. Let's take that off. It's really direct sound. So that is that guitar tuned, and yes, it's been nice to just pop in. What do you think then? What do you think of this new streaming setup? What do you think of it? Does it look good? Does it look crystal clear? Do a pedal for the yes, there is a pedal thing. I don't mind just like doing it all on the computer myself, you know, just through that interface. Looks good here in Canada. That's the good thing. In Canada, and yeah. So 1 hour 38. That's how long it's taken me to string a guitar. And I still haven't taken that off. I've got to take that off, haven't I? Should I do that? The last thing that I do on here, and then what we'll do is I will say adieu to you. Oh, just a bit of housekeeping, I suppose. If you've got the ebook, what we've done is I know I set up a thing in the back end of let me show you. If you've got the videos, if you've got the physical book. If you've got the book from Lulu or you've got the book from Amazon, then what we've got is you've got all the lessons set out like this. Yeah, but if you've got the ebook, I've put this in the ebook yesterday. I just thought it makes sense to have it all together in one spot. So if you have the ebook, then that's the first part there. You've got your download link for the book, but also just some advice. Just some advice here is a lot of people get mixed up with the link at the bottom of the book. They put it into Google, yeah, and you can't put it into Google. So if I click this here and just show you, this is the URL guide. Don't put it into Google. Yeah, don't put it in the Google search page. Yeah, you've got to copy it into the address bar at the top of the page. This bit here, see this bit there. You've got to put it in there, and that's how you get to the lessons. Just a little bit of housekeeping on that, and then they come up. The reason I did that is so that if it's indexed in Google, then you don't. I can't change it. If it's hosted on my website, I can't add some extra bits because there might be a relevant lesson that I think, you know what, this is a lesson about string pairs. Here's a reshoot of that lesson, and here's another extra bit to that lesson. So this is why I'm saying, so like, for instance, on this one, learn your E string. The whole thing about learning your E string, there's the lesson there. But then I thought, well, this isn't in the book, but learn your A string as well. Just to make it just a little bit better. So there's just a bit more in there for you. So all the lessons are in there. Yeah. The YouTube ones, some of them are embedded and some of them are not. Like this one here, there's 2 lessons in here. And yeah, so hopefully this makes it all just a little bit easier. So I just thought I'd just tell you guys that was going on there. Scroll down here. Where is this page? This is for the people who have the ebook, Paul. So if you've got the ebook, then no. I know it's coming up in Fretboard Fraternity. Now, the thing with the Fretboard Fraternity I'm having problems with this. Should be available in Fretboard Fraternity. I'm just wondering if I type it in here now. If I put in Fretboard Fraternity, do I have to sign in? Will I have to sign in? This is in beta, is the community. Come on, hello. It's not doing anything. So, which is frustrating. Yeah, because I'm trying to create a place that we can do this stuff without being on Facebook. You know, because not everybody likes Facebook. I've realised that, because if you're over a certain age, then it's like, it seems that Facebook is a bit of a contentious issue. Where am I? There we go. No, that one there. So that's there, right? Yeah. So bear with me on the community thing. Now the idea is that anything that you signed up for, like this, the ebook, you should be able to find it in. That's why I was looking at this here. You should be able to find it in the. I don't know why that's not coming up. It should be coming up. And it was doing it earlier on. You should be able to find anything that you've got in here. Now, if you don't know, I'll give you a preview. This is a preview of what's to come, I suppose, really. If you go here, up at the top, you'll see you've got this 9 little dots. Yeah. So if you've signed up for the ebook, you should have 2 different things, courses. If you click on courses, is it going to behave itself? And now it comes up with the library. Oh, hang on. There's all sorts of different stuff in here that you shouldn't be seeing, but don't worry about it. And that's seemingly a little bit slow. But this is where you should have all your courses will be. Yeah? There's some template stuff in there. Ignore that. You didn't see all that. So this is for the people with the ebook. It's all in one spot now, just to make it a bit easier. Okay, just thought I'd tie that in at the end there, just so people knew. Okay, well, thank you very much. Oh, that camera there. Rival stuff. Who have I been advertising? What we've got to do is, we've got some stuff coming up for this year. I want to get this different perspective that I have on the fretboard out to you. Yeah, that's odd. I don't know what's going on. It's something going. It's in development, so it's in beta there, Paul. You know, and as such, you can expect that it's going to be. No, it shouldn't be geo-blocked. It's on a big, massive Amazon web server sort of thing. So. But it will get better. We'll figure it out. We'll sort it out. Bear with me. And so like I say, this whole fretboard course thing, somebody mentioned in the Facebook group as well. I'm just wondering if I should pull that up. There were a few questions, and sometimes getting to answer questions can be a bit hard work. So. You know, I'm just wondering if this is a way of doing that. Yeah, free PDFs are working again. Go to strings for acoustic. Matt was asking about that, and we just showed you some of those. So these are my go-tos. The Dario 8020 bronze. I sometimes switch them up. I sometimes like the Elixir ones as well. Facebook Lives. I have the Facebook Lives before Christmas. Those were for the book. I thought, you know what? I thought I'll just try it out and see what happens. And see how they were received. And they've gone down really well. So I've yet to decide what I'm going to teach in the next series of YouTube Lives. But obviously a lot of people have got a guitar, so I want to get as many people who are just starting out to have some good solid advice and that for making sure that they're successful on their journey. So There will be probably more beginnery based stuff, but I know that's a thing, and some more music theory stuff as well. I love music theory, so it's always nice to do that. Somebody says, Don Price, is there a way to download all the lessons into my phone at once? You probably can do with a plugin in Chrome or something like that. It sounds like a techie question. And yeah, so yeah. And any other questions? If you have any problems, the easiest thing to do is just email support@rickysguitar.com, and we can sort things out for you. And that's good. I think that's as good as it gets. Right, guys. So I'm going to finish this live stream, songwriting stream. Is that something that would be good? Because I've accidentally written 2 musicals. I accidentally wrote 2 musicals. So if you want to do some songwriting, then yeah, we can always look at any of those things. I have a lyric writing method. I mean, that's not strictly guitar content, but I have a great way of getting lyrics. Lyrics are something that people struggle with. So that might be an interesting thing. So, all right then, Phil. Yes, happy New Year, all that business. And I will see you guys. I'll see you guys very soon. More content coming. New system, new setup. We're getting building up to do some more stuff that's going to be really useful for all guitarists. And I appreciate you guys. So I will see you later. Have a pleasant rest of the weekend. And yeah, back to it all on Monday. Yeah, there we go. So see you later. Take care, guys. Thanks for tuning in.